I woke up with salt still crusted in my eyebrows, and that special ache you only get after surfing 12 straight hours. The wave-a-thon had wrapped up at midnight, and by the time we'd packed the beach lights, counted donations, and dragged the foam boards back to the shed, the stars were already blurring into dawn. I figured Sunday would be a lazy morning. Sleep till 10, shuffle across the road to the cafe for a flat white, then brag online about how Avoca Beach Surf School had smashed its fundraising goal for the reef. Instead, at 6:03 a.m., my phone started vibrating like a dying blue bottle. Ollie's name glowed on the cracked screen. "Loose, get down here," he hissed. Wind whipped across the line. "Someone's been inside the gear shed. Did we leave it unlocked?" "It was locked. That's the weird part, and—" "Look, just hurry." I pulled on yesterday's hoodie, whistled a goodbye to Mum, and jogged barefoot down the asphalt. The winter sun was only nibbling at the horizon, but I could already smell seaweed and stale sausage sizzle. Empty chip packets eddied around the bins, where we'd sold snacks to spectators for $5 a pop. Ollie waited outside the surf school's corrugated iron shed, keys jangling in one hand, pale as sunscreen. He held the door ajar just wide enough for me to duck in. Boards stood nose down in their racks, still dripping. Wetsuits hung like sleeping bats. Everything seemed normal, until I noticed the mascot. Captain Koala. Our surf school's goofy grey marsupial sat slumped against the wall, dead eyes staring at the fins. Yesterday he'd danced along the shoreline, posing for selfies and coaxing donations from tourists. Now his plush stomach bulged, seams stretched to bursting. Ollie swallowed, thought Captain might have eaten too many veggie pies. I knelt and unzipped the back. Out spilled a flood of bright yellow $50 0-cent notes, flapping across the concrete like fallen leaves. "Holy." "They're fake," Ollie said quickly, pushing one toward me. The plastic felt thin, the window too cloudy. Banjo Patterson's face a fraction blurred. "I did the pen test." "That's a thing printers do, not teenagers who forgot their maths homework," I muttered. Ollie shrugged, embarrassed. "Watched a video." We stared at the heap. Must have been thousands, maybe tens of thousands. The shed door screeched behind us, and Marco Ona, head coach, deliverer of inspirational quotes, limped inside. He smelled like muscle liniment and exhaustion. "Can someone tell me why our mascot looks like he's been on an all-night pokies binge?" we explained. His tanned forehead tightened. "First decent fundraiser we've run since the floods. And now this?" he said softly. "Counterfeit cash inside a koala suit. The media will chew us alive." Ollie and I had a silent conversation with our eyes. Should we call the cops? Marco settled it by pulling out his phone. Senior Constable Imogen Rangi arrived 10 minutes later. She paddled out on an electric bike, wove between bin chicken feathers, and removed her helmet with the same precision she'd used to win the under-18 junior surf comp back in the day. If not for the badge, she could have been another ex-Grom catching up on gossip. Inside the shed, she crouched over the notes. "Someone launders dirty money, you kids launder seaweed off your wetsuits. Let's keep the tasks separate, hey?" Marco explained that only 4 people had keys to the shed. Him, me, Ollie, and Mason, our new volunteer treasurer. Mason had joined 3 weeks ago, waltzing into the surf school with a blazer over his board shorts and a grin bigger than the Tasman Sea. He'd streamlined the donor database, charmed half the mums, and promised to double last year's charity takings. None of us had objected. Imogen made notes. "When did you last see the mascot suit?" "Midnight," I answered. "I peeled it off because Gemma our junior coat was overheating." Imogen raised an eyebrow. "Gemma's 5'1". The person who wore this last night towered over her." She pointed to the underside of the suit's chin, faintly smeared with brown stubble grease. Ollie grinned. "I did notice Captain Koala's dance moves improved dramatically after dark." "That was Mason," Marco said. "He volunteered to spell Gemma." Imogen tucked that away. She asked for Mason's number, thanked us, then bagged a handful of bills. Before peddling off, she added, Let's keep this quiet. With luck, it's a prank. With less luck, your treasurer's using you as a laundromat." After she left, we sagged against the racks. Outside, the early bird paddlers were already stroking toward a clean 2-foot set. Normally, Ollie and I would be first out, but the idea of sliding across glassy water felt off when dirty money sloshed inside a kid-friendly koala. "Let's talk to Mason," I said. Marco sighed. "He won't be at the beach. Said he'd drive to Sydney this morning for an accounting seminar." Sydney was only 90 minutes away. If he'd left at dawn, he could be halfway there. "We can call," Marco tried, "straight to voicemail. Maybe his phone's dead," Ollie offered. When my gut tells me something's wrong, it usually is. This time it was yelling. I suggested we visit Mason's rental. Marco hesitated, then gave us the address, one of the new duplexes overlooking the lagoon. He stayed behind to deal with the day's beginner class. Ollie and I set off on our bikes like two junior detectives, pedaling past bakeries and pelican statues. Mason's place looked sterile. Manicured turf, grey weatherboard, blinds drawn. No car in the drive. Ollie knocked. No answer. When he tried the handle, the door eased inward. "Unlocked. Good sign or bad sign?" Ollie whispered. "Depends if you're the cat or the mouse." The lounge smelled of last night's pizza and fresh laminate. Surf trophies lined a shelf. Most belonged to other people, judging by the engraved plates. On the coffee table, a laptop hummed beside a neat stack of $20 notes, all legit. Next to them sat a waterproof satchel, emblazoned with the surf school logo. I opened it. Spare Koala gloves and a plastic bag containing more counterfeit 50s. "That's almost funny," I muttered. He took the hands but forgot the body. Ollie flipped through the laptop's open windows, spreadsheets of donor names, sums recorded as received, nothing obviously fake. If he's forging money, why bother tracking genuine donations at all? I copied the files onto my USB. We were about to leave when I spotted a crumpled ferry ticket in the bin. Date, today. Departure, Palm Beach to Ettalong. Time, 7:45 a.m. Palm Beach was 30 kilometers south. The first ferry had left an hour earlier. He ditched the car, Ollie guessed. Figured water transport was stealthier. I texted Constable Imogen what we'd found. She replied with a single thumbs-up emoji and a location pin, Ettalong Wharf. Then 3 words, "Don't do anything." Obviously, we did something. We swung our bikes around and pedaled for the next town. Halfway there, Ollie's chain slipped, so we ditched the bikes and thumbed a lift from Mrs. De Lorenzo, who owned the gelato cart and loved conspiracies. She tossed our boards in the tray, handed us melted lemon sorbet and sped off in her ute, blasting ATS rock. At Ettalong Wharf the ferry bobbed, emptying passengers with beach umbrellas and dripping dogs. We scanned faces for Mason's swept-back blonde hair. Nothing. The wharf cafe owner, who'd watched me faceplant on a borrowed longboard once, recognized us. "Looking for your mate with the Synergy suit bag?" he asked. "He legged it toward the National Park car park 10 minutes ago." We sprinted along the foreshore, hearts jackhammering. Behind us, clouds huddled like gossiping aunties. Ahead, the bush thickened into Brisbane Water National Park, all scribbly gums and sandstone ledges perfect for stashing. Well, anything. We almost barreled into Mason coming the other way. He stopped dead. His neat ponytail had unraveled. Shirt stuck to his chest. "Lucy Ollie Hay," he said, forcing a smile. "Didn't expect to see you." "Lost something?" I asked, gaze dropping to the satchel slung over his shoulder. He clutched it tighter. "Just heading to a meeting." "On a bush track," Ollie said. Mason glanced behind us, maybe calculating escape routes. Then he sighed. "It's not what you think." "Good," I replied, "because we think you used our charity event to move counterfeit cash." His jaw clenched. "It's complicated." He started past us, but Ollie stepped sideways, cutting him off. Mason didn't try to shove. He just looked tired. "Look," he said quietly, "I didn't print the notes. I'm supposed to deliver them, that's all." "Supposed to," I echoed. He rubbed his forehead. Last year I made some poor choices, loan sharks, poker games, owed more than I could repay. They contacted me 2 months ago, said if I shifted a batch of fake 50s up and down the coast, I'd clear my debt. And you figured a charity wave-a-thon was perfect cover, I said, bitterness sharp in my throat. Lots of cash moving, no one looking too closely. Exactly. He sounded ashamed. But then something happened last night. A distant kookaburra cackled. I crossed my arms. Enlighten us. Dawn session, he whispered, as if anyone else might overhear. We were packing the suit, stuffing the notes inside so I could collect them later, and a little kid, maybe 6, ran up, hugged the mascot, told me he'd saved his pocket money to help the fishies breathe. Gave me $5. Real money. I felt like trash. Ollie's face softened. I kept my arms folded. So you decided to turn them in, Mason said. I told my contact I'd burn the fakes. He threatened to burn me. So I grabbed what I could and bolted. I'm going to the police station at Voi Voi right now, I snorted. Funny, because we already called the cops. On cue, an engine revved at the car park entrance. Imogen's police 4-wheel drive swung into view, lights flashing but siren mute. She stepped out, hand near her holster. Everyone okay? No one spoke. Mason's shoulders sagged like a punctured hot water bottle. He held the satchel out to her. They're in here, he said. Imogen eyed him, then accepted the bag. She radioed the station, relaying code words. When she finished, she looked at Ollie and me. You two have a gift for disregarding instructions. Sorry, I muttered. She sighed. Well, you saved me paperwork, but next time remember we have resources beyond pedal power and gelato powered utes. Mason was escorted into the back seat. Before the door shut, he met my eyes. Tell Marco I'm sorry. The patrol car drove off, crunching gravel. Ollie let out a low whistle. Sue, that happened. We traipsed back to the wharf. Clouds released drizzle that dotted the bay like popped bubbles. My adrenaline buzz evaporated, leaving a hollowness. The wave-a-thon had been meant to celebrate coral regrowth, kids riding tandem with pros, laughter echoing across the sand. Now the headline would be about counterfeit money and a cuddly marsupial. At the surf school, Marco listened to our recap without interrupting. When we finished, he ran a hand through sea-bleached hair. I keep telling people surfing teaches resilience. Guess we get to demonstrate it firsthand. He opened the donations lockbox. Genuine 20s, 50s, even a crumpled 100 spilled out. Around $14,000, 0 cents already double last year, not counting pledges. Clean money, community money. I watched Marco's expression soften. Maybe the wave-a-thon wasn't tainted after all. News of Mason's arrest spread quicker than sunscreen on zinc-coated noses. Reporters rang. Marco gave a concise statement praising local police and vowing transparency. Imogen confirmed the counterfeit bills were part of a wider investigation into coastal forgery rings. She also slipped in a compliment. The swift actions of 2 young surfers helped recover evidence and safeguard a beloved community event. For a hot minute, Ollie and I were minor celebrities. Channel servant interviewed us beside the mascot suit, now thoroughly searched and patched. Captain Koala looked proud, as if surviving scandal had endowed him with gravitas. But fame fades faster than wax on a warm deck. Within days, the focus returned to winter swells and whether the new cafe cinnamon rolls were worth $7, which suited me fine. One afternoon, the sky turned molten pink and the sand felt like cold sugar. Marco called for a staff meeting in the clubhouse. Gemma poured hot chocolate. Brochures for next term's Grom Clinic littered the table. First, Marco said, congratulations. We cleared $18,450, 0 cents after online pledges. Enough to fund the reef seeding project twice over. Applause erupted. I caught Ollie's grin. He looked as proud as when he landed his first air reverse. Second, Marco continued, we need a new treasurer, someone good with numbers and immune to shiny opportunities. Every eye swiveled toward me. I nearly spat marshmallow. I failed Year 11 economics. But you can spot fake $50 notes on sight, Gemma joked. In the end, Ollie and I agreed to co-treasurer duties. My meticulous spreadsheets, his uncanny knack for remembering who owed what. Imogen promised to teach us money-handling protocols. Marco ordered a counting machine. 2 weeks later, we held a thank-you barbecue. Locals sprawled on picnic blankets, sharing prawns and stories. Captain Koala now, with stitched muscle definition and larger eye holes, waltzed among kids, handing out reef-safe sunscreen. This time Ollie wore the suit. I kept watch for suspicious lumps. Only jelly snakes in the pockets. As the sun dipped behind headland shadows, I paddled out for a celebratory wave. The water glowed copper, textured by a light offshore breeze. I sat outside the break, breathed in sea salt and sausage smoke, and thought about the way currents carried both rubbish and life. When the set arrived, I turned, dug my hands deep, caught the wall of glass. The board lifted, momentum humming through my calves. For 5 perfect seconds, I flew down the line, carving a shallow arc round the section, spray glittering like confetti. Onshore cheers drifted across the water. Maybe they were for the sunset, maybe for me. Either way, I smiled so hard my cheeks hurt. Resilience, Marco had said. The ocean knocks you down, but there's always another wave. And sometimes, if you're paying attention, it even washes fake money out of a koala suit and delivers a cleaner, truer tide.